Today is like Saturday in the Western world. Tomorrow is Shabbat. So that's Arab music out there. So everybody, the whole country is predominantly, obviously, Israel Jewish. So the Shabbat is the day. And obviously also for the Muslims, Friday is a special day. But the weekend has started. That's basically my statement since yesterday evening. Today we have that incredible, touching story of Ruth. Yesterday, because of the special readings for Bartholomew, we skipped over the tragic story of Jephthah. And the pace is moving along. We are now at Ruth. Ruth and her husband experience famine, and they have to go with their two little boys. They have to immigrate. In miles, it's very short. It's just the other side of the Dead Sea, basically. Across the Judean desert to the Dead Sea and cross over to the land of Moab. And if there wasn't enough difficulty in that, further tragedy strikes like it does for so many immigrants. Obviously there are health issues, there's poverty, there's a lack of resources, and her husband dies. And eventually the two boys are young men and marry local girls, Ruth and Ophrah. And eventually both of them die. So you can imagine the fullness of Ruth's heart, the fullness of sorrow, the fullness of grief. And then a little flicker of good news comes that back home the poverty has been overcome, probably the blessings of rain, crops, people have something to eat again. And so Ruth wants to come back home. And she tells the two girls, the daughters-in-law, to stay at home, to stay. One kisses her goodbye right away. But Ruth says, no, I'm staying. Sorry, I'm talking about Ruth all the time. I should be talking about Naomi. Forgive me, it's like this time of the morning. Since Ruth is obviously the big story, I was saying Ruth all the time, and it is Naomi. What am I thinking? Can you cut, please, and re-edit? So Naomi's heart is full of grief, and Ruth is obviously the Moabite girl. And we have that famous line, she refuses to leave her mother-in-law. Maybe it's that heart of compassion that understands how much grief Naomi has been through. And she cannot leave her, she cannot abandon her. She's probably a little on in years now, and she needs support. Maybe that's one part of it. But once there's a little human compassion and growth, there's also more docility before the movings of the Spirit, the movings in our heart. When we make space for the other person near us, God can grow in our heart. And the sunrise is being prepared. And the sun rises. Obed, a son for Ruth. Born of Boaz and Ruth. And of him is born another son, Jesse. Another son rises. And then another son rises, David. And since then, the people have been waiting for a son of David. And those Jewish folks here around the Sea of Galilee 2,000 years ago recognized in Jesus this son of David. Son of David, have pity on us. And it's a new sunrise for humanity when those ancient words were woven together from Deuteronomy and Leviticus. You should love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul, and your neighbor as yourself. And metaphysically, we'll say that the love of God is the foundation, but maybe also a gesture of compassion, a movement of compassion can be the opening for a greater love for God. And therefore a move into a land of freedom, to love God with all our heart and all our soul and all our strength, and our neighbor as ourself. And then new light bursts forth for humanity. Praise the Lord, my soul. All these birds are chirping in. Who made heaven and earth. Praise the Lord, my soul. Little children coming out to play in the water at sunrise. Praise the Lord, my soul. The Lord keeps faith forever. He gives food to the hungry. Love the Lord with all your heart and all your soul and all your strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. How many people are hungry for that love? The Lord raises up those who are bowed down. The Lord protects strangers. The fatherless and the widow he sustains. And Psalms are so beautiful because they turn the biblical stories into prayer, into thanksgiving, into praise, into petition. beautiful way to bless somebody and love them is to pray for them. And there's a lot of that going on in the world. That's part of the chemistry of our world that keeps it together, despite all the violence and hostility and hatred and abuse of people. Let's leave it like that today, people. Thank you for joining us here at the Sea of Galilee on this glorious morning.